Hello, my name is Sally. I'm one of the endocrine CNSs. We're going to have a think about what to do when your child is unwell when they're on replacement hydrocortisone. We ask families to double the dose of hydrocortisone when their children are unwell, because this gives them enough hydrocortisone to keep them safe, to keep their blood pressure up and their blood sugar up in the event of illness. We use a flow sheet, which you will be given by your team, and you can also print off from the GOSH website. And we're going to take you through this flow sheet step by step. So if your child is unwell with an increased temperature, childhood illness or viral illness, then we ask you to start doubling your usual hydrocortisone doses for the next 24 to 48 hours, depending on how they are. Because we recognise that the most vulnerable time for your child is during the middle of the night, we also ask you to give an additional dose at around 3 to 4 a.m. This is double your morning dose of hydrocortisone. So whichever is your first dose of the day, you're going to double that. You're going to give that dose at 4 a.m. and then you are going to still give your normal double dose at 6 or 7 a.m. whenever you've been prescribed it. During this time, we ask that you keep your emergency kit, which we will talk about in a later video, with you at all times. If your child is getting progressively unwell, they could tip into what we call an adrenal crisis. The signs and symptoms of an adrenal crisis are the same signs and symptoms of somebody who has got a low blood sugar. That would be something like being very pale, being quite clammy, very sleepy, very difficult to wake up, being quite glazed, not really looking at you when they're talking to you and not making much sense or being confused. The late signs of this are being unconscious and being unable to wake your child up. If at any time during this illness, even with the double dosing, your child shows any of these symptoms, you need to give an emergency injection of hydrocortisone. There is no point in giving oral dosing at this stage because the gut will have shut down and won't be able to absorb the medication. The other scenario where we need to think about quite carefully with illness management is vomiting and diarrhea. This can affect the absorption of the hydrocortisone, so we're particularly cautious with this. We would advise you to give a double dose even if they are not due it. If they keep it down for an hour, then you can keep them at home, carrying on double dosing, adding in the 4 a.m. dose, and doing your normal first aid care, so sips of fluid, etc. If, however, that dose doesn't stay in your child, you need to move to giving them an injection of hydrocortisone. Again, we'll look at this in a future video. If your child tolerates the dosing to start with, then you can, as I say, carry on keeping them at home. But if they show any signs of a low blood sugar, you need to move on to giving them the injection and calling 999. Any child that has the injection must go to hospital because the injection only lasts around 4 hours and we still won't know what the underlying cause is. The final scenario is if the child has an accident or a severe significant injury. This could be something like a head injury with a loss of consciousness, a broken limb, a burn, or really showing signs of shock for any reason. At this point, we ask you to move straight to the injection and not give additional oral medication. We have additional flow charts available on the website for children on DDAVP and also for you to be able to give to schools. We don't ask schools to give the injection, we ask them to give a sugar gel to keep the child's blood glucose up and to call an ambulance and hand over the kit. That's the main difference between this flow sheet and the school flow sheet.